Hey, thanks for tuning in to my podcast, Fit for Growth. I'm Coach Eric, or a lot of folks call me Coach Eric. This interview, this was done prior to the Greater Washington Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Business Expo. Nicole had a great surprise for a lot of folks, which was announced at the expo during the expo. So now we're going to go ahead and publish it. I look forward to having Nicole back on maybe in about a year or so to give us an update as to what's happening with the Greater Washington Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So please go ahead and visit their website. They have a lot of great events coming up between now and the end of the year, and they're always busy. They're always looking for new members. So please, go to their website, take a look, and contact Nicole. Let her know what you think about this interview. Enjoy. Hey, Nicole.
Hey, Eric, how are you?
Good to see you again. It's been a while. How you been?
I've been good. I've been good. Waiting for us to be able to do more things in person, but being careful along the way. So
Yeah. Well, waiting for us to do things in person. Well, we got this big expo coming up in DC. We'll get to that in a minute. So that's a big event. I'm glad that's happening again this year.
Right, me too. Yeah. The Greater Washington Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, where I work, is putting together the expo you're talking about, September 16th at the Convention Center from 9 to 2. And, believe it or not, we've been treading lightly on the in-person event, but it looks like, there has been no lockdown, and we're able to do it, taking the necessary precautions.
Yeah.
And people are, like myself, very excited. So
I bet.
Hopefully we'll see you there too.
Yeah, I'll definitely be there. I'm looking forward to it. So before we get too deep, I just want to say, tell me about yourself, Nicole. This is you're the president of the or the chamber executive of the Greater Washington Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. You have a very busy schedule, so I just want to thank you for saying that. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So yes, I'm the president and CEO of the Greater Washington Hispanic Chamber here in Washington, D.C. And I've been doing that about 4 years now. Prior to that, I was the general manager of Telemundo, Washington, D.C. and Telemundo in Richmond. So I had those stations. And I spent about 20 years in that office, or in those offices. And so basically my whole career has been about serving the Hispanic market and small businesses, and that's my passion, and that's what I've dedicated myself to do. I was the first one in my family to be born in Washington, D.C. in the United States. My mother and that side of the family is from Bolivia. My father and that side of the family is from Colombia, and I was raised Spanish dominant. I remember, getting to kindergarten and not understanding a word that anybody said. But, as little kids are such quick learners, I spoke English better than Spanish within a very short period of time. So, but yeah, so I am a Latina by background, and just really enjoy the work that I do. I really love being able to, and especially now, coach people with their business, their businesses, and teach them how to get to where they need to be in order for their business to be successful.
Yeah. So prior to being the president of the Greater Washington Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, you were at Telemundo. How was that experience?
It was an amazing experience. Like I said, I was there 20 years. I was hired as the administrative assistant to the president, and then I kind of went up through the ranks until I became, the president and general manager, really. And it was just an incredible experience because, when I was hired, it was during a time that the Latino market wasn't as understood or connected to by, the larger corporations. And so, much of my job was to go to different companies and educate them on, our buying power, our cultural, how to be culturally sensitive, what means things to us, what are our priorities and things. And so it really allowed me to use my culture. I'm sorry about that. Somebody's at the door. I hope that doesn't ruin the interview, but at least you get a taste of what I live with every time the doorbell rings. Although I will say that nowadays with Zoom, everybody has, guys. They have crying babies and barking animals. So I hope that
Yeah.
didn't
And
cause too much of a commotion.
sometimes cats walk across the screen. It's
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you know what? Sign of the times, right?
There you go.
But yeah, so it really allowed me to, use my Latina culture and my background and my knowledge to help other people. So it was, plus, we got to meet a lot of Telemundo actors and actresses. So that was fun. But it was a wonderful time that I had there.
No, I think that experience really lends a lot into what you're doing now at the chamber,
Right.
because that actually helps, expose a lot of national, not just national government, like the federal government with the DC government, but also, some of the national businesses that are located in DC, the larger companies, expose them to the needs and the buying power of the Hispanic community, not just in DC, but also Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, sort of like within a good 500 miles of DC. And the chamber is one of the largest, I guess, in this region, right? With its members and what you guys do. And yes. I know you have a lot of connections with like the NBA. I know we did a couple events there over at the Wizards stadium, and it was a great event. So talk a little bit about that. I mean, top terms of those connections that are so important for the members to actually have access to.
Yeah, it is. I think, just chambers of commerce as a whole, like just as any, whether it's Hispanic or not, I think it's very important for small businesses and individuals, if you want to get connected, to join the chambers, because they really, my job, aside from helping small businesses, grow, is to connect them to, different opportunities, different people, to grow their network. I always tell my small businesses, you need to collect people. That's what you have to do. You have to collect people, and you're going to find that, you're eventually going to get a network that's super strong, and anything you need, you'll be able to find. But it does take discipline, and it does take time. But yeah, so we're a large chamber because we do service the region, right? So we are suburban Maryland, Northern Virginia, and Washington, DC. And so God, so much of my job is, whether it's on email or texting, it's, people calling me, asking, do you know this person? Do you know where? Do you know? And I'll end up making those, very valuable introductions. And then, I try to keep track of, what happens to that, so I can, learn what the success story was, and hopefully, if it wasn't successful, help in some other way. But yeah, it really is incredible. And of course, having the title of leading the chamber opens a lot of doors. And so I take that seriously and responsibly, and, and pass that value to our members. So, but at the end of the day, it's a fun job, and people love to get together. So it really isn't work, but I would definitely say anybody who is not familiar with the chamber to try and, familiarize themselves with how it works and take advantage of it, really.
Yeah. And especially, it's not just for Hispanic businesses or Hispanic owned businesses. It's not for them, because I know a lot of people who are in the chamber and they just join because of what you just said. It's, creating a larger network for their business, and just trying to connect with other people and other business owners within the chamber. That's so important. I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's so important for business owners to not just join, but to also, leverage the relationships that occur in the chamber, that you can go to events like the one that's coming up in about 2-3 weeks at the DC Convention Center, the Biz Expo. I think the first year I was there, I think there was something like 2,000 to 3,000 people at the Biz Expo. And I think every year it's grown since that number. So how did you work with the members to sort of keep those connections going, especially during the pandemic that we're still in, but especially at the height of the pandemic?
was a lot of Zoom calls, a lot of Zoom calls. But you know, we like many chambers, we and like many businesses, we went obviously online because networking was no longer possible. And we just really tried to be strategic about the webinars that we chose to do. Of course, what was needed from our members. So we, send surveys or ask questions, and we would, match whatever we did to what they need, and they still need it, right? How to fill out the PPP loan, where to get access to capital. And then we threw in some, entertaining ones, so we all, wouldn't go crazy completely. But yeah, I feel like, and I will say that I'm very happy to say that our chamber has grown through the pandemic, as opposed to, not, because we had so many partners still support us, as opposed to like pulling funding or anything like that. We were able to get a nice stream of sponsorships and even some grants to keep the doors open. And so we didn't have to let anyone go. We didn't have to lessen salaries. We were able to bring more people on board because so many people needed help. So, that's the kind of thing you want to see from a chamber, and anything that we could do to like push restaurants that people, would order out or things of that nature. We were very diligent about that. So it was good. It was, hopefully we did a good job.
Well, I mean, the numbers increased, the membership increased. And I can also say that it was almost as if every week you guys had an event. Almost, it averaged out to be like not a minor event, but it was something the chamber was doing at least once a week. And I think that made a huge difference, not just for the chamber, but also for the membership. That showed that there was a very good plan in place for business owners that, okay, we're all shut down, I get it, but the chamber is still there. A chamber is still a place that, business owners can still connect, reconnect, join, grow their business. And I'm glad that the chamber actually grew. So what was like one of the biggest challenges, I would say, that you guys had to overcome as a chamber staff? And you don't have a large staff. You did it with a very small staff. I have to, very impressive. So what was the good and the bad, I would say?
Well, as far as the staff, or just kind of in general?
Well, in general, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the bad, I mean, it's obvious. It was a very stressful time. If you remember at the beginning when it all kind of hit March 2020, we were living in a state of uncertainty, but we had this feeling of, well, this will be over in a month. I remember thinking, oh, yeah, this is going to, never in my life did I think that a week would turn to a month, would turn to 6 months, literally. And so, that inability to tell the future, which, if we had a crystal ball, right? That was really because, and still we're kind of living it right now. You couldn't make any solid decisions. And so it was, I didn't know if I had to let go of my staff. And so it would be, we would, for example, we looked at the budget, we changed the budget based on the information that we had. And then a month later, we changed it again. And we just kept changing everything, because we had to adapt. So that was, really, really challenging. And the fear of not knowing if I'm going to have to let somebody go, especially during this time, was just, it was very stressful. Nobody wants that, right? Yeah. But, the pleasant, or the good thing, the silver lining, I guess, is what I think everyone has also learned, is it made us slow down for a minute. It made us see what things are really important in life. Do I have to spend 45 minutes each way in traffic? Do I have to? Obviously we stressed out because our office hours, widened up, right? So we're working all the time, but, we were able to walk away with a feeling of efficiency and, in some manner, like, okay, yeah, no, I don't have to stress out sitting in traffic and doing all that stuff. That's not necessary. And learning that kind of brings a bit of peace too. So, you learn what to value, I think, in life, even if it's such a, difficult and challenging environment. That was the silver lining. And of course, the ability to help our members and see that they are okay. was, of course, very satisfying for us.
No, I think that's a great point. Because I know we talked a lot about that in the past year, about, what's important for business owners, what's important in terms of understanding, what your day looks like. What are the priorities in the day, and what are your priorities just for business, how you look at it. And I think that's what made you guys successful, because you said that you grew, you said that you and again, you don't have a staff of 100, you have a staff of like five people, including yourself, five people.
Yeah,
So,
including me. Yeah,
so
it's nuts.
yeah, but it worked. You put it, you guys made quick decisions and it worked. And I think that makes a big difference for any chamber, to make those quick decisions. And because your members are looking at you saying, okay, what are we doing? And
Yeah, and
that makes a big difference.
sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things that also worked, and I think for me as a manager per se, right? It's very helpful that the people, you always have to have the right people, right? It's always about the people. And if you take care of your staff, it really goes a really long way. And the people that I have on staff at this current moment are just so unbelievably talented, each one in their own right. I mean, really, it's just high functioning, high energy, and they can do things, on their own, and I can trust that. And so we've been able to get into a space where, I mean, there are some days where I won't talk. I mean, there's 5, right? Including me. I won't talk to 2 of them, but I know that work is going to be done, and I know I can trust them. And so that, really helps get things done, because we don't have to have a checkpoint, every 3 hours or something. And so that's also, having that trust was something that came out of all of this.
Yeah. What were some of the things that the chamber did for members to keep them engaged? Like, what kind of special event? I know you mentioned the training and the workshops. I think a lot of people did that, which really helped, especially with the PPP and the idle workshops. A lot of folks were doing that. But besides that, because I look at it from the cultural perspective, as growing up, I didn't grow up in the States, but having that culture, you always want to be around people. You're always like, you want to rub elbows. And what were some of those things that you did, that the chamber did, to keep the culture in place and then keep people connected? What were some special events you guys did?
Yeah, and they were all virtual, right? So all the events were virtual, but not all of them were, train this and learn that. So we did things like pitch your business. We had like a contest, for small businesses, so they could see each other, and they could each, we'd go around the room, and everybody would have their elevator pitch. And then we would bring in other members who weren't participating, but were watching this contest, and they would vote. And so the winner of, you have your prizes, and pretty simple, but something like that got people excited, because, they wanted to see each other, and, and you're not having to study anything, or you're just talking about your business, which helps in so many different ways. Things like that. We had a trivia night contest, which was fun, because you had to go find things in your own home. So we'd have a secret list, and you'd have to find, I don't know, whatever, some particular kind of coffee, from South America. And so people would leave and come back, and that got pretty competitive. So, we knew that would be a nice distraction, for people. And so stuff like that would keep it interactive, we would sprinkle throughout, just to see each other's faces and say hello. I thought it was very important. And, the other thing that we did was we would call, just a personal phone call from myself, or text, just to say, hey, thinking about you, that kind of thing. Which, brightens some days. So
yeah, those things go a long way. And it's the creativity of how you keep your members engaged. That's so important, especially, you have a huge list of business owners, different business owners in the chamber. You have small business owners, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, small business, in that sense. But then you have the larger businesses, the larger corporations, 100 employees, 200-300 employees. So you definitely have to manage that balance. And I think you guys also did like a food demo.
Oh, we were doing cooking shows. That's right. We were doing cooking shows. Because one of our members has a kitchen nearby, And so we were able to do that experience. And we did that several times. And much to my surprise, believe it or not, people signed on. And one of our worries was, at a certain point, it got to like, all right, well, I don't want to Zoom anymore. I don't care. But our members, they're very supportive of us and they like each other. So they Zoomed on. And to your point earlier, there's small businesses, but there's also medium and large businesses. At least half of our businesses they're not Latinos. They're people that don't speak Spanish, but they want to be around our group of businesses. Maybe they're hiring, maybe they're looking for vendors, and maybe they're just opening up their network. So I get that question a lot. Do I have to speak Spanish or be Latino? And obviously the answer is no. So it was a cool experience to have everybody come together. But yeah, that cooking thing was fun too.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool because they actually, you guys did a lot of those, which was really fun because then you turned it into a little bit of a competition where it's like the person who's cooking. I think when I saw one where someone was saying, hey, how do we get your food? And that just came out of the blue. And all of a sudden that person was like, oh man, hey, this could be a small little way of making some money on the side. And that kind of worked out really well. So you just never know. I mean, just by doing that, you guys open the doors for opportunities for other businesses to grow. So that was pretty creative on you guys' part.
Oh, well, thank you. It's, it's hard to be creative. I mean, the longer we went, the more we were just like, I can't think of anything, but we did definitely have some fun along the way. And, really at this point, we have to kind of keep it. I mean, we are having the expo in person, so we're excited about that, but we'll still be doing kind of a hybrid situation where we'll do, the expo, but then we'll do some virtual things. And then we have our gala coming up, which is in November of this year, November 13th, also at the convention center. And people are just so excited about that too. It's a pretty big party, in celebration of one another. So I can't wait for that. That should be so much fun.
Yep. And then you have the embassy. You're gonna have the embassy
the gala or the embassy dinner. Yeah. So typically we do that in person. Because of the sensitivity of the embassies particularly, we're probably going to do something virtually around that. Okay. So that, because once you bring in the embassies, everybody has kind of their own different, I guess, feeling or take on this. So, we'll have something, but it'll probably be like a luncheon virtual, something like that. Or if it's in person, it'll be, smaller group. But yeah, and then by the end of the year, if, once we get past our gala, we have our holiday party, hopefully in person in December, TBD. But yeah, we're just going to kind of keep charging through. And I have to say that the jurisdictions, Northern Virginia and Prince George's County and Washington, D.C. have been extremely generous with support and funding. And as a matter of fact, something that we're extremely excited about and that we found out today, believe it or not, is Comcast is going to give us $10,000 of a loan per business for 100 businesses. Wow. So it's crazy. This is the kind of stuff that you learn when you join a chamber. I mean, this was something that they announced that, they called us this morning. So 100 businesses will have the opportunity to apply for a $10,000 grant. So yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. These are resources that, I was so excited to hear that this morning, and we're going to be posting it in the next couple of days here. So
hey, share it here first.
Yeah, that's right. So it's great.
That's pretty cool. So hopefully, we can get more people to join the chamber because that loan, that program was there because of the relationship the chamber has with Comcast for like years. So that's the important part about being part of a chamber, is leveraging relationships and then being exposed to these opportunities. So that's a great thing. That's a great job. Yeah, that's awesome. It's a great win for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. The more we can offer our members, the better we are.
Yeah, definitely. It's quite impressive. So now that you mentioned that, what about connections with other chambers? How do you work with other chambers in the region?
Well, and it's funny because we have very close connections to all of the Hispanic chambers that are here, and we all feel the same. For us, it's not really a competition. It's really the more we connect, the more impactful we are. And every chamber has its strong part or a strong suit. Some chambers work on different programs, and so it's a really great relationship. And as a matter of fact, we'll have monthly phone calls, with the Maryland Hispanic Chamber, Northern Virginia Hispanic Chamber, the Virginia Hispanic Chamber, the Salvadoran Hispanic Chamber. And every time we get together, we learn something different. We learn of a new partner, potential sponsor, and every once in a while we'll have members kind of join each other's chambers. So yeah, and I think people, when, if you're not familiar with the Chamber of Commerce model, if you will, a lot of people don't understand exactly what we do. You know what I mean? They're like, what's a chamber? What does that mean? That kind of thing. And so, the best way to say it is it's just one business hub. We're a hub for business, a hub for help. And we're here to make sure that you do well in what you're doing. So it's a good partnership that we have with everyone.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it. I never saw it that way, as a hub. Yeah, that's pretty cool, because there is a business side, there's a social side, there's a cultural side, there's the real business, the deeper business side, there's a relationship side. So, and that's the thing. Sometimes I hear business owners, when they join a chamber, they say, "Hey, I didn't get anything out of it." I'm like, well,
100%.
yeah. I was like, well, what did you put into it? You
Right.
got to get something. You got to put something into it. You got to show up. So that's so important. So what other advice do you have for like businesses who are considering joining the Greater Washington Hispanic Chamber of Commerce?
Well, I would say, give it a shot, but really give it a consideration. Getting into a chamber isn't really cost prohibitive. It's not. It can happen, and ultimately, doesn't matter if you become a member or not. You can still call us, and we can, kind of help you. Being a member will give you discounts for certain events and things where it'll be advantageous for you to be. But I'm not going to turn anybody away if they need help. So, I would say part of the business strategy should include a chamber, any chamber, join a chamber, because it is just that useful to your business. But yeah, you're right, Eric. You gotta show up, right? You have to show up. You have to stay engaged. But it could be a total game changer for people's businesses.
Yeah. So there you go. So we're talking about the Greater Washington Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So I'm going to point everyone in that direction for now.
That's right. Well, that's right. Definitely mine's the best. You have to join ours.
There you go.
I do think that we have a lot of fun. We really do, and we have very spirited members.
Yeah.
And we're considered a family, and that's the important part. And when I need something, I pick up, like with you, I'll call, and you get back to me, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a good network to have.
Definitely. Yeah. So as president of the chamber, from Telemundo, from moving here, from Latin America, South America, moving here, growing up, did you ever imagine going through Telemundo? You ever imagine becoming a president of a chamber?
No, never. And every day, when I started that trajectory, I was the assistant. Like I said, I was the assistant to the president at the time. I had no idea. And I will tell you that I think I was very lucky, but I think there was an advantage back in the day, and I'm going to be very careful with saying this, but when I say it, people understand. I don't look Latina. Back in the day, people didn't understand our culture, and there's certain predisposition to think certain things and stereotypes. So, I knew that people may not have listened to me as much as they did if I looked ethnic, or,
right.
And so I use that to my advantage. I know that it was to my advantage in that time.
Mhm.
I'm not happy about, that whole stereotypical thing, but I think it has changed over the years and people have become more open-minded with all ethnicities. Um, but yeah, I went ahead and took advantage of it. And I really, moving up, every time I kind of moved a little bit more and moved a little bit more, it was just like I would pitch myself because it was, it was like a dream. But it just made me work really hard and remain very responsible and respectful to my job and to the gift I thought that it was. Um, yeah, so no, and even today, it's funny. People will say my title, and I'm like, who are they talking about? It's crazy. And I'm, like I said, I'm very blessed and I'm very lucky that people trust me. And I do work hard to make sure that stays intact. So yeah, it's cool. And I also, you know what, Eric, I also, as much as I can, you'll find me speaking to, the younger generations at schools or, wherever. I'm so blessed that people ask me, like they think I have something to say, I guess. But to use my personal experience to hopefully shed some light on the younger professionals, or those that are coming up and growing up specifically. So I consider that a big part of my job too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I thanks for sharing that, definitely, because it is true. It is very true. It's we judge a book by its cover. We're visual beings and we judge a book by its cover, right or wrong. It is what it is. And sometimes we just have to, do what you did, take advantage of that and say, hey, you can go ahead and judge me, but I know what I got to do. I know how to receive that and then leverage that and just make something out of it. That's a big thing, because I've experienced that a lot myself, but I'm kind of like, that's okay, I'm good, but let's just move on. Let's now that you know me, now how are we going to interact, how are we going to deal, now that I know you in that way, because now I know where you're coming from. So that exposes a lot of those biases, a lot of those the ways other people think. But I think that's also okay, because that opens up the conversation to say, well, hey, here's an opportunity to learn about our culture.
Right.
There's an opportunity to learn about, hey, just because you saw this on some cartoon, because we can go down that rabbit hole.
100%.
Yeah, years ago, if you remember.
100%. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
really?
Yeah, it's like, really, Disney? Did you really do that? That's not.
Right.
Yeah.
What happened? Who lost that? Yeah, no.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was kind of going in that direction, but I also look at it like, okay, let's flip it. Now you have an opportunity to sit and talk to us as business owners, talk to us as leaders in communities, because it's because we're all very diverse. We have a different way of thinking, a different way of doing things, and we're just human beings in the end. But now it's up to them to learn.
Right. 1,000%. And I feel like a lot of larger corporations are really jumping on this bandwagon. You hear the phrase, the terms being used, equity and diversity and inclusion. So we're definitely going in the right direction. To really try and hire and communicate to the people who reflect the community, which is a diverse group, right? And so I appreciate all the effort that's being made by some of these corporations to really put some plan in place for them to include, all these folks. And part of the problem with COVID, or one of the sad things that you saw and still to a certain extent see, is these corporations or the money being funneled into communities didn't really reach, especially at the beginning, didn't reach the people it should have reached, right? Because people were unaware of where these, what they call vulnerable communities, where are they? And because if I'm a bank and I don't, talk to you, if I don't have a plan in place to communicate with the diverse community that we have around us, well, I'm not going to know where they are, in the challenging times. And so many people were left, not included in the possibility of getting this funding. So that's the conversation we have to continue to have now. And we've seen an uptick in chamber members, like I said before, that are non-Hispanic. And if you look at my board, it's reflective. I have, a person from PenFed credit union who is, for lack of, like, completely white, no Latino, doesn't speak a lick of Spanish, but wants to be involved. So
Right. Yeah. And I think that's the most important part is understanding that, we do have our fellow brethren, human beings out there that we all look different, but we're pretty much in the same. We're pretty much we have a core foundation that we all kind of want good for each other. We do it in a weird way sometimes, but I
Yes,
think,
yeah.
I think the core is we all have this idea of doing something good. But I think the first step should be, how do we learn from each other, and sort of like, how do we learn about each other? Because you're absolutely right. When we shut down last year in March, I did a lot of work and I did some project work in DC. There was a lot of money out there, and we were getting calls like, "Hey, do you know how to reach this?" And I'm like, "Well, who is this company?" It's like, I won't say the name of the company, but it's a huge, huge company. And I'm like, you mean to tell me this? They have no one on the ground. They haven't built. They built a very top relationship, but the small business community, 500 employees or less, they had no clue who these folks were. They had no clue in terms of who are these community developers. I would say the local community, like the CDFIs, those local community banks that were based in churches, for example, that were based in credit unions. They didn't know how to connect with them. And this is where chambers come into play, right? This is
That's
where
right.
this is the chamber should be a bridge to that link. It's the hub, right? As you mentioned, which is a
That's right.
great. So the hub should be really find ways to make those on the ground connections from the zip code or block to block level, because they kind of missed the boat. Like, say, even some of the grants that were given out in some of the cities, in some of the localities, they missed, because of the grant requirement. It was done around the table, but when they placed the grant requirement, I know of many businesses that were automatically excluded
Right.
because of a grant requirement, because of a physical space. And I'm like, that's not how this area actually operates.
That's
So
exactly right.
they couldn't apply for the grant. So not knowing what's on the ground is so important, and having the chamber as a hub make that connection is key to those conversations.
Yeah,
um
most definitely. Most
yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah. So hopefully we'll continue to be able to, um, be that connecting source, moving forward, when we start getting more in person, I think people will be even happier to, go to the breakfast networking and go to the, I think people are hungry for it. And so I'm really looking forward to doing that. And,
yeah.
as the events and we figure out what's happening right now with all of this, but we post our events on our website, and, people go check it out, see what's coming up and what's relevant to them. So
Yep, yep.
we'll keep going in that direction. Yeah.
That's very important, because things are starting to open up a little bit. We're starting to get more of a rhythm, and again, you build that rhythm, and all of a sudden you don't know what the next month's going to happen, what's going to happen in the next 2-3 months down the road. So where people are still kind of weary and still trying to figure this thing out. But yeah, I mean, so far it looks like certain businesses are starting to pick back up. Unfortunately, we lost a lot of businesses in this mix, but that's the hard part. I mean, that's the sad, but
And yeah, I think so. What I firmly believe is that, Latino businesses, specifically Hispanic businesses, that before COVID, they were opening up their businesses at a rate faster than any other ethnic group, including, white males. So Latinos have proven, hand over fist, that they have the tenacity and the grit, and the, entrepreneurialism to open businesses. Sadly, they close faster than any other ethnic group, because the financials were not the way they should have been. And you're bootstrapping it, and you're bringing in your family to work for you, and so you weren't, you weren't really having a good, solid financial foundation. So when this tsunami hit, it's there goes, all of your financial capacity. And I think right now, what we're going to focus on is making sure that those financials are in place. I mean, even if you have to shut down your business to open it up again, sometimes that's the better decision, because if anything happens again, and it very I mean, it could right now when we don't know what's happening, you're not going to be able to recover. Right? You can't take that many hits. I mean, people barely recovered in 2008. So, you know, if we get another punch in the face, so that'll be our focus is one of our focuses is to make sure that financially you're stable as a business.
Yeah, and that's a great point. That's a really excellent point because that's something that I think we saw, especially in the Hispanic community, you had that rate of growth that was really high.
Yeah.
And then, you know, but then at the same time, whenever I see a business growing that fast, or even a sector growing that fast, there's always some internal structural issues, some internal operational issues that will any little thing, it's very brittle. Any little thing can cause it to slow down, even stop or go backwards a little bit. That may not be a bad thing because then people realize, oh, I need to have these structures in place. Financial is one of them. Management systems is another one. Things like that. Those kind of SOPs in the business is so important to have. The good thing is, I would have to say, is you know the fact that businesses were opening that fast in here in the U.S. just shows how strong, you know, how easy it is to start a business here, how viable the U.S. market is in terms of the opportunity. You know, a lot of people say good and bad things about capitalism, but it just goes to show that, hey, a lot of people are coming here to open up businesses. And, you know, even through the chamber, you still have that relationship through the embassies to do import and export.
Right.
You know,
That's right.
And seeing those numbers, it's just amazing to me that, hey, a lot of people are coming here, they see the opportunity, but now it's just about, okay, using the chamber as a hub, you know, using that to create that foundation and that structure for them. So that's a great point that you.
Yeah. I mean, now's the time. For some reason, I mean, I know it's been daunting, right, this last year and a half, but like you said, the energy, it's even with the messaging right now that we're not sure about what's going to happen with the Delta and all this. Still, I think people are just, they're not having it, and you know, I mean, I wish that everybody would take the steps that are required of us, but there are plenty of people who are getting vaccinated and who are just charging forward, and so that's what I'm seeing, and so I'm looking forward to seeing how the economy will be impacted positively. I mean, you know, in this region, you know, we make up what 66 to 70,000 Hispanic small businesses in the region, and that's a good injection of financial security into, you know, it's like 12-13% that we're putting into our jurisdiction's economies. Right. And so that's a big portion of the pie for one, you know, Hispanic group. So there's lots of opportunities for everyone.
Yeah, and it goes to show that, you know, people are creating the jobs. They're not looking for a job. They're actually creating their own job per se, which is a great thing to do, especially when you have a highly skilled labor force, highly educated labor force. So you can actually just go ahead and start these businesses and do that skilled labor and the highly educated labor. So you have that labor force that's there, that's willing to work and do the work, from everything from, like, you know, high-end professional services to construction services, major, you know, some of the top construction companies are owned by, you know, by Latino. So it's very interesting to see that growth. But then the majority of them are actually small businesses. They're actually like small restaurants, small cleaning companies, small companies, 5 people, 10 people. And that's where I think the major impact's coming from. It's looking at that sort of that strata or that layer of business owners or businesses, you know, 10 to 15 employees and below. They're actually growing it from those numbers. So you have that big breadth, you know, top and bottom to see those numbers grow. And that's the fascinating thing about it.
Yeah, we've seen some really good success stories. And I think, you know, if these small businesses realize, and hopefully they do, the amount of opportunities, I mean, that are around, you know, even like with the city, getting contracts, you know, and make sure that, you know, you get certified so you can take advantage of these contracts, but they're out there, and you know, the cities are rebuilding. You know, work is going to keep happening, you know, opportunities will keep popping up. As you saw, construction didn't really slow down. I mean, now it's a little slow based on the supply and demand of, equipment and things.
Yeah.
But, I just, hopefully these businesses, the small ones, will stay the course, right? Because there's plenty of opportunity out there. So,
Yeah.
and we're there to guide them through that.
Yeah, exactly. But you're not, but to the chamber as a hub, you're not only talking about businesses, you're also talking about employment opportunities. So I know you also help companies sort of do like a matchmaking for businesses, and then for people who are looking for work. Is that something you guys get involved with as well?
Yeah, I mean, and we do it, but sometimes a company will come to us and we'll do a particular effort with them. In other words, we have a job posting board. We will send out announcements. We'll do something just around what one particular company needs. And so yeah, we have absolute connectivity to to the community when it comes to hiring. We'll bring it as part of our events, like for example at our expo. But in years past, and this will continue to happen again when things get a little more normal, we do a job fair. We do a few during the year. And so that'll be specific and a much larger effort. Because again, Latinos are sought after. I mean, bilingual, Hispanic, people are looking to hire. So we want to make sure that's another one of our programs that we're going to reinstate here in a little bit.
Nice. Yeah, because that's one thing that we've heard a lot of challenges where business owners, especially in the food industry, they have a hard time finding and hiring people. There's a lot of other challenges behind that in terms of people who are getting federal assistance, state and local assistance, they were probably making more money staying home. Yeah, staying home. So, it was like the government competing with the business owner, and they were like, hey, I have jobs, I can't fill them. And hopefully that's something that will be dealt with pretty soon, because at some point, how far can we go down that road? So having that job fair, will bring out people to apply for these jobs and really come out and fill these positions that, every restaurant manager positions. I've seen, I've talked to other folks who are part of the chamber, and they're like, we can't hire a restaurant manager.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's all the time we hear, I can't find this person to save my life. I can't. So
yeah, it's quite interesting. It's going to be an interesting time.
Yeah.
So cool. So president of the chamber. Yeah. So I don't want to say what's next for you, because I don't want people to think that you're leaving, because I know you're not going to leave.
No. I mean, there'll be, there's a future in my way, but not anytime, I'll make sure that we get through some of these moments that were, stable and sturdy before anything. But I think after the chamber, it's going to be doing something on my own. I do have a company. It's not activated right now, but so I will, be consulting. I will be doing, a lot like you do, and doing what I do now. Training and educating and, picking different projects to work on, it all in what I've always been doing for my whole career, which is basically serving the Hispanic community and corporations who want to connect with them. So, that's my passion, and that gets me really excited. And, so that's what I'm thinking about in the next step.
Yeah, in the next step. That's pretty cool. No, that's good though. But I mean, even as no matter what position you're in, you should always be thinking on a personal level, what's your next few
100%.
years down the road, all the time, because we're not going to be in the same place for the rest of our lives. You always want to do something different. There's nothing wrong with that. Just having that next challenge, I would say, that next growth opportunity is always important.
Yeah, I agree. And then, having your own company I'm hugely, an advocate of owning your own company. It gives you so much opportunity to build your wealth, to build your future. And so that's also a really important thing to have. Yeah.
So what's the next big thing for the Greater Washington Hispanic Chamber of Commerce for say next year or the next 2-3 years?
Yeah, no, I think getting through this year is, wildly, that's where we are, but we're just going to continue doing our events. We have our signature events. We have, the expo, but we're going to make it bigger. we're just gonna grow what we have in place, and bring more people on staff as soon as we can do that. We just want to blow it open, and just be that monster in the region. Just more people. We don't need, but we want more people, because the more people that are together, the better for everyone. So that's going to be our push.
Yeah, especially with that new office you guys got.
I know, we moved to 800 Connecticut. It's beautiful, right by the White House, and it's a great spot. And so, right now we're doing by appointment only, but soon we'll be able to walk in and do all that good member to member kind of.
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, I look forward to that. I know you guys have moved. I didn't get a chance to go down there yet, but I look forward to spending some time. First the expo, then in the future we'll come down to the office.
Yeah, exactly. First the expo. So that should be a lot of fun. I'm a people person for sure, and so I get my energy from connecting with others, even if it's virtually. But that's what gets me energized. So yeah. I'm looking forward to more.
Well, that's cool. Well, Nicole, I just want to say thank you for taking your time. And I know you have an extremely busy schedule. So
anything for you, Eric. You're an amazing member and friend.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. And yeah, because your energy, like when we first met, your energy was like, you don't get tired. I don't know if you sleep at night. I don't know how you do it. I'm just like, your energy is off just through the chart. So
so is yours, my friend. So is yours. Like I said, there's no downtime, but that's okay, because we love what we do, right?
Yep. So okay, so how do people get in touch with you? Like join the chamber. Give us your website. How do people get in touch with you?
The website is gwhcc.org, and like all of the information is there, even a way to get in touch with us via email, phone. I mean, you pick up the phone and call at any time, or send an email, and we'll always return your call, answer your questions. We'll get back to you right away. But it's a great place to start. Sorry, go ahead.
And you can also join through the website. There you go.
Yes, you can. You can also join through us.
You can also join.
I encourage it. It's a lot of fun. People that have joined, and I make sure to say what we said before, which is, listen, let's be realistic. You got to show up. But when they do and they're active, they do say, I wish I would have known this before. There's really no other place to go where everybody's kind of in this space where they want to help each other, that they're able to be vulnerable, talk about whatever, issues they have, seek out help, even from me personally, so people will say, do I touch my, oh yeah, absolutely. I'm in touch with, whoever wants to be in touch with me can be in touch with me. Yeah. And my passion is to help. So there's a lot of advantages, to come on.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's worth the investment. Put it that way.
Thanks, Sarah.
It's worth the investment. Thanks. So Nicole, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. Eric, thanks so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate the exposure and your support of our chamber, which you've always given us.
No problem.
Appreciate you.
Well, take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.